In the series finale of Game of Thrones, we got to see one hell of a hairstyle. There were lots of long, lingering close-up shots on the back of Daenerys' head during her speech to her army, giving, I think, an intentional view of the styling team's Daenerys magnum opus. Here we can see that they're not even trying to make it look like a real head of hair can do this anymore, but that's okay because it's such an impressive look and it's consistent with the significance of braids for Dany. So let this video be a bit of a thank you note to Kevin Alexander and all the Game of Thrones stylists for their work over the last 10 years as we recreate this Daenerys style. As mentioned, you're going to need extensions for this. Not even a thick head of hair will work because it's just not physically possible to have so much hair in one very concentrated spot for the start of these fat braids. You will need some fake braids that you can pin in underneath your real ones instead. I'm using a few bunches of loose caniculon braiding hair that you can buy really cheaply in many colors. Link to these specific ones is in the video's description box. For the volume at the back of Daenerys' head, you will also need some sort of small hair bump, like this little hair donut that can be pinned into. Pick something that isn't too high, because the farther out it sticks, the more surface area you have to cover, and thus the bigger your braids need to be to do so. First, I'm going to prepare my fake braids. Being very careful not to drop this bunch of hair, since it would be basically impossible to pick it all up if all the strands got everywhere, tie a length of fake hair in the middle, and then fold in half. Separate this hair into 3 strands, and start making a normal 3-strand braid. Braid all the way to the ends, and tie with a small hair elastic. Repeat with 3 more bunches of hair, so you have 4 braids total. You want these to be about 3 to 5 centimeters thick, so use as much hair as necessary to achieve that. 2 packs of caniculon hair got me to that point. Now let's do stuff to our own hair. Make a gentle side part like Dany has, though draw it so that the part angles back towards the middle to get as even an amount of hair on each side of your head as you can. Dany wears her part on the left, though I have a bit less hair on the left side of my head, so I'm just going to part on the right. Now pick up a small section of hair on one side of your head along your forehead hairline, between your part and the upper side of your forehead. Notably, I'm taking hair that's lower than the corner of the forehead, like a normal Dany style, because we want enough hair in the start of this braid to be able to hide the starting nub of the fake braid we'll pin underneath here. Start making a Dutch braid, moving towards the back of your head, adding in hair from next to your part to the upper strands, and from the upper side of your head to the lower strands. Add in new hair twice to each strand, and then transition to a Dutch lace braid, where you add in hair only to the top strand. Keep forming the Dutch lace braid straight back, and stop adding in new hair when you reach the end of your part. Finish the braid normally to the ends and tie off with a small hair elastic. Start another Dutch braid on the other side of your head in the same way, transitioning into a Dutch lace braid after 2 rounds of adding in new hair to each strand. Again, braid straight back to the end of your part, and then finish the braid normally to the ends. For the extra flavor points, you want to think of positioning the braids where dragon horns would be on the head. Then we start a second tier of braids. Take another small section of the rest of your side hairline hair, and start Dutch braiding. Again, add in new hair to each strand twice, and then only Dutch lace braid towards the back of your head. When it starts feeling like you're at the back of your head instead of the side, stop adding in new hair and finish the braid normally to the ends. Make another one of these side braids on the other side of your head as well. Be careful that the braid is horizontal along the side of your head and doesn't angle downward, which could be easy to start doing as your arms get into a more awkward position while doing this braid. Next, grab your hair bump and position it at the top back of your head. Secure it in place either with bobby pins, or if it's a Velcro hair bump, just make sure it's stuck here nicely. Now we add in our fake braids. At the top of the braid, where we folded the fake hair, push it underneath the start of a top real braid. Use bobby pins to secure it here. Short bobby pins are particularly useful here since they're less likely to stick out the front of your hair noticeably. Once the first one is in place, stick in and pin a second fake braid underneath the start of your other top braid. We start building up the braids around the hair bump next. First, grab one of the fake braids and lay it crosswise over the top of the hair bump. Pin it in this position, and also pin the hanging part of the braid so that it covers the far half of the bump. Grab the other fake braid, cross it over the top of the hair bump, and pin in place. The two braids now should be pinned so that they are side by side, covering most of the hair bump with no space in between them. Next, grab your top real braid from the same side as the fake braid you first pinned, and cross it over the top edge of the hair bump so that none of the bump can be seen from above. Pin this braid in place here, and pin the hanging tail of the braid along the far side of the first fake braid, covering more of the side of the hair bump. Repeat with the second top real braid, cross it over the top and pinning down the other side of the other fake braid. Now bring one of your second tier real braids straight back and pin to the side of the hair bump to cover even more of it. Repeat on the other side of your head with your other second tier braid. Then grab your last two fake braids. One at a time, also pin them in underneath the start of your second tier braids, drape them to the side of the hair bump, and pin them up right alongside the other braids. As I do this, one thing you might be noticing is that since this fake hair is its own braid and not blended in with real hair, it's pretty noticeably shinier than my real hair. A trick for those of you using synthetic hair like this to cut down on the unnatural shininess is to either dust the fake hair with baby powder, soak a few minutes in diluted vinegar, or soak a few minutes with fabric softener. Googling how to make a synthetic wig less shiny should give you plenty of instructions for that process. You have a ton of braids on your head now. Gather them up, and with a hair tie matching your hair color, tie the braids together at a bit lower than neck level. This will start feeling quite heavy on the head, so I understand why Daenerys walked around a bit stiffly. Using several bobby pins in many positions when pinning the braids to the hair bump will help distribute the weight a bit and keep any one bobby pin from pulling out. There are two more braids to make now. On one side of your head, pick up a small amount of hair behind your ear. Split into 3 strands. We're going to start French lace braiding with this hair. At each iteration of the braid, add in a little bit of new hair to the strand closest to your ear. But pick up this new hair from underneath the rest of your hair instead of from right next to the braid. This is how you get the added strands to look like they're wrapping around the rest of your hair. Add in 4 small sections of new hair like this, and then finish the braids normally to the ends. Make another lace braid like this on the other side of your head as well. Bring these final braids together at the lower back of your head, above the tie point for the earlier bunch of braids, and tie them together with a small hair tie that matches your hair color. Then wrap the tails of these braids behind the braid bunch and tie again with a hair elastic here. Now finally, undo any extra braiding in the large braid bunch below the hair tie. Daenerys also has her hair loosely curled where it's not braided, but you should never apply heat curling to synthetic hair because it will melt. So you'll have to forgive me for the little ding against screen accuracy here. If you're preparing this style for a cosplay or something, you can pre-curl the synthetic hair before braiding by using a wet set approach. Do a last minute check now around your head for any visible bobby pins that need readjusting to hide, and you're done. That, my friends, is Daenerys' conquering dragon queen hairstyle. Please give me your thoughts on this tutorial in the comment section, and if you like crazy costume hairstyles like this, check out my book, Badass Braids. Available at all major book retailers, it contains instructions for many Game of Thrones styles, as well as several other historical and fantasy shows and movies. That's it for now. See you next time.